Hey there, Knicks fans. How you doing? It's your boy, Jonathan Macri, with you for another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. We are so back. Basketball has started. Jeremy Cohen is our first official show of the year. Cheers to you. I'm going to toast you with my Polar Seltzer Raspberry Lime. There you go.
Cheers. Thank you. This is because I'm 1-0 already, or are we just cheersing me in general? I'll take the praise.
I'm toasting to a new season.
Yeah,
We've started.
You said cheers to you. So cheers to the season itself. That's
cheers
great.
To us. Cheers to us. Cheers to basketball.
Cheers to Knicks fans. Cheers to everyone. Basketball's back. Sure. It's fun to be able to just catch the end of a random basketball game on a Thursday evening. I miss that feeling. It didn't have that for quite some time.
I had an utterly delightful time yesterday. Well, the rest of the world was watching. We're recording on Sunday at like 4:30. Well, the rest of the world was watching the beginning of the Yankees World Series game. Condolences, by the way.
Thanks. I definitely wasn't thinking about it at all.
I just wanted to put you in the right state of mind for
because I was definitely not in the right state of mind, and now I'm in a better state of. I appreciate it, John. Thank you very much for that.
I honestly don't even know what time the game started, but I bounced from. I did Nuggets Clippers, and then I bounced from that, and I had two games on my screen at once. I was bouncing between Magic Rockets, which was an interesting game, and then I was watching Celtics Wizards, Celtics Pistons. Pistons are very, very funky little team so far. I'm a little worried about that upcoming game that we have on Friday. And I just kept like bouncing around different games all night. It's great to have basketball back. Like you said, it's great to have basketball back.
So to answer your question, by the way, the Yankees game started at 8:08, and I know that because all the games start Eastern time 8:08, or basically what it's going to be is 8:08s and heartbreak. So that's essentially where we're at right now. But I also watched that conclusion of the Celtics Pistons game in a group chat, as I mentioned to you guys. Like, you know what? Gonna switch away from the Yankees for a minute and watch the Pistons blow it. And boy, did they blow it! That's just an unfortunate ending. But it was nice to be able to see that, to dual screen and watch, bad basketball, but also fun basketball.
So as we start off, week in review. We had quite a week. It's unlike any other 2-game week that I could remember, because it was truly the lowest of lows followed by the highest of highs. So 3 days after losing by 23 points to the Celtics in a game that was not nearly that close, the Knicks came back and beat the Pacers by 25 points. So we have a positive scoring margin on the year. Didn't think I was going to be saying those words after opening night. And it's been a roller coaster ride because there were certainly a lot of reactions, which we are going to talk about. Those reactions. We're actually going to rank the different overreactions that were had after both of these games. But just tossing it to you, as I always like to do, what were your general impressions after the Knicks have played 2 basketball games?
Well, these were 2 of the most prolific offenses that we've seen in quite some time last season in the Celtics and the Pacers. And, it's a new squad for the Knicks, but you leave the Celtics game feeling like, wow, that's a championship team right there. But hey, this is a Knicks squad that's still ironing out the kinks. It's brand new. It's game 1, lot to figure out. And then you move to a Pacers game and they obliterate them. And you're thinking, yeah, see, like this is obviously this team went healthy, would have made the Eastern Conference Finals. And the first game doesn't matter. It's a total fluke, right? Like it doesn't have any impact. Like that's just one game. This is a statement for what would have happened last. I mean, I'm joking, of course, but it's that feeling of cool. It's nice to see what a well-oiled machine, even early in the season, like what that could have been and what you hope that it can keep doing. But these were 2 playoff teams that you just kind of had to deal with to start the year. Of course, game 3, it's not going to get a whole lot easier for the Knicks against the Cavs, but it's with the parity and the amount of talent in this league. I mean, the Knicks, it's going to be awkward. Like I said this belief to you at the watch party and this is not hey, this team is as good or better than comparison. It's purely an example of teams needing time to gel, which was that the 2010, 2011 Miami Heat, I believe they started 9-8 and then they skyrocketed.
Sounds right.
And it's really just about teams need time to figure it out, get into a rhythm, and then they can really take off from there. And this Knicks team is not going to be as good as that team, but they don't really need to be right now. And look, if they are, great, that's fantastic. Then it shows that they're really a juggernaut. But just letting these games, if they win them, that's fantastic. To me, it's all about figure it out for the first 10, 15 games. Then we'll have larger sample sizes. We'll be able to dissect even more. But it was an expected start, at least in my mind, of 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, we did our predictions. I think the day, like right before opening night or earlier that day, whatever it was, and like we both wanted 1-1. You won the coin flip, aka you had won the season before, so you got the tiebreaker. So you had to pick first, but like we both would have taken 1-1 because that's just the most likely expected outcome. I think the phrase to come away with this from this week is just figuring it out. And the funny thing is, like, if you ask me at which point in the two games did I see the most elite level of play at either end of the floor, I would have said their early offense against Boston. I thought their offense against Boston in like the first quarter specifically, I was like, wow, this is really good. They weren't taking threes, but like everything else was really top notch. I don't even think they reached that level of offensive, like where I felt like they were really truly clicking against the Pacers. The shots were going in and they were like getting good looks, but like this is all to say, like you said, give it time. Give it, whether it's 10 games, 15 games, 20 games, 30 games, whatever it is. But I think I have a lot of faith 2 games into the season that at some point they're going to like, A, they're going to figure it out. And B, more importantly, when they do figure out, it's going to be really good. So it's just a matter of how long that takes. And, you know, we'll see in the coming, days and weeks. That said, there were many overreactions to these 2 games. So you want to do, what do we should do? We should do back and forth. We do 3 each.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that goes first. Andrew, how are we deciding who goes first?
John, you go first.
Oh, that was a great decision made by Andrew Claudio, our producer. Okay. My number one overreaction, and I'm not, maybe this is controversial. I don't think it's controversial at all. I think it's an easy first pick, is the Mikal Bridges shot thing. And if I was going to rate how out of turn that this particular overreaction was, it's tough for me because even after the first game, after opening night in Boston, and even after honestly the last preseason game, I acknowledged like this seems to be a problem. I wasn't worried because I knew he was going to figure it out sooner rather than later. I just didn't know how sooner/later it was going to be. It seems like he may have figured it out after 2 games. So I think, but as far as the genuine overreaction that like the Knicks gave up 6 first round picks for a guy who like forgot how to shoot, I think that's maybe not a 5 out of 5. I'll put that as a 4 out of 5.
The other thing is he does more than just shoot. He's right, and more to your point of like that's not why you give up the picks. It's because of what else he adds there, and it's everything. It's the package. Yeah. He clearly needed to get into a rhythm. I mean, I'm old enough to remember Julius Randle having 6 of the worst first 6 games you've maybe ever seen in your life, and then he put together a season that was an all-star campaign and would have potentially been all NBA had he not been hurt. So guys just need time. But the beauty of the shot, just from a results standpoint, I mean, the way that I see it, and I would hope others do too, is Mikal Bridges is the tertiary option on the Knicks from a scoring perspective. You're not going to necessarily expect Josh Hart to be that guy because, I mean, he played very well in game 2, but he's not, you don't rely on him for that. OG, large contract. You pay him primarily to be the defensive superstar who can have these off the movement threes and then some mid-range game that he's added into it as well. But that's not who he is, which is where Mikal comes into play. And the mid-range was so smooth. It felt almost automatic whenever he was inside of the arc. It's the question, of course, of outside the arc, where can he get it going? And he had a rough first half against Boston. And since then really turned it around. So no real complaints there, but very easy to have hot takes especially after the Celtics almost, but didn't, set a new record for most threes made in a game.
So you're up. What is your first overreaction that you're taking?
My first overreaction is that the defense is atrocious.
Okay.
So right now, as things stand, and again, this is Sunday afternoon, so some games still to be played by the time you hear this. I
looked this up earlier today.
The Knicks, according to Cleaning the Glass, are 29th in points per possession. They are 30th in defending effective field goal percentage.
Allowed. Points per possession allowed.
Yes, correct. And they are they're 28th in turnover percentages. So all very poor stats. Of course, that is a byproduct of playing, again, the offense that was first and then second, although the second ranked team last year in the Pacers did not shoot very well from three in that game, John. So that certainly benefited them, stabilized a little bit, but still not really. That's just how good Celtics are. Should surprise no one that the Knicks are first in free throw rate on the defensive side. It's because the Celtics took so many threes and didn't have those drive and contact opportunities that it really not going to allow a lot of guys to get to the rim. That's going to change. It's going to get better than 29th. Is it going to get significantly better? That is what I'm very curious about, because of course the Knicks are still missing one of their best defensive players in Mitchell Robinson. And that's not someone that we are going to expect back until at least January, and who knows? So it's hard when you're missing someone who really makes your defense better. Of course, they're also missing Precious Achiuwa. Precious on the defensive side grades out nicely, but it just takes time. And having wings that you can rely on is great, and the Wingstop duo, but it's simply not enough yet. Do I believe it'll stabilize? I do, but it's very possible that we're looking at a team that has a truly elite offense. And we're talking historic levels. I mean, I'd still expect the Celtics to have a better offense than them, but just the bar has been raised year after year. And a meddling defense, but meddling to me is, still close to league average. And there's time for them, of course, there are a whole 80 games for them to have it get better. But if you look at that staggering amount, that number, it's gonna scare you, and I don't think it should.
I don't care about the defensive rating number right now for a variety of reasons, mostly that it's 2 games. I don't think we've seen, even against the Pacers, where I do, like I said after the game, the urgency and also just like the execution was better, certainly better. Like going back and rewatching that game, I think they could get a lot better. Like they're not at this point fully optimizing, I don't think, those wings, and I don't think that's anybody's fault. I just think, again, it's like they're getting used to a new group out there, and that takes time. I do think that they will, like, you're going to see them be a lot better. Like, I think this is a defense that's going to be able to look really, really, really good against certainly bad offenses, but like even mediocre offenses. I think the challenge is going to come when they play opposing teams that like give 0 places for you to hide your weak defenders. I think that's where the real test is going to be. And I don't think they're going to look particularly great against those teams in the early going. The question is, how do they look against them in like the second half of the season, after they have taken some time to gel? Yeah, I'm going to go in terms of like that overreaction. I think it's like a 3.5 to 4 out of 5. But the reason I skew a little bit up lower than the McCall shot thing is because at the end of the day, I do think they are going to need to beat Boston, even though crazy things happen in the playoffs. Maybe they won't need to get past the Celtics. And ultimately, I do think against the Celtics specifically, they're going to have an uphill battle. But then again, like, the Celtics aren't always going to look like the Celtics on opening night. Just look how they performed against the Pistons. Okay. My next overreaction, I think I would have taken the one that you took second as well. I'll go to OG, because I feel like there was a lot of chirping about OG Anunoby after opening night. Did not score a lot, certainly. And like, obviously the Celtics put up 1 million points. So the notion that like OG is, I think for a lot of people was like, well, you paid all this guy, all this money because defense is his calling call. Well, what did it do for you against Boston? Did nothing for you. There's no such thing as any player in the NBA who's going to be able to like single-handedly uphold a defense. If like, and really, I think the NBA now is much less about show me who your strongest defender is, and it is much more about show me who your weakest defender is, at least against the very, very, very top teams. So I think that's why that overreaction is kind of bunk to me. Mostly, I think it all comes down to OG. I think you said it. I think you have to remember what OG Anunoby's role is. Like OG Anunoby is not getting paid all that money to go out there and create shots for himself or do any of that sort of stuff. His role is to be able to take advantage of advantages that are created for him. And again, going back and rewatching some of the Pacers game, he's really good at that. I think we forget sometimes how good he is at that. And that's all they need him to be. And that's why, like, I know he's the one starter that didn't score 20 points in that game, but I thought he was really effective on offense. Not worried about OG Anunoby as long as he stays healthy. That's the only thing. So for me, that reaction's like a 4 out of 5.
I agree. So much of what OG does is not quantifiable. I mean, of course, there are stats to quantify some of what it is, but it's not going to be as easy as the points portion. No, a lot of it's going to be looking at the opponents, especially those he's guarded, and determining how well they did. I mean, he didn't match up a ton with Tyrese Halliburton, but Tyrese Halliburton scored as many points in the Garden as we did. Like, that's
indeed he did.
Is that what a superstar does? I don't think so. I think they do a little bit better than that. But I agree with you because that's not who he is. That's not his role. And there is more that he can do, of course. But to me, it's, the Knicks went from having the lowest usage centers really in the NBA when you look across the board, and now they have one of the highest. So when you look across this starting lineup, you're going to wonder, hey, who are the guys who are probably going to have the lowest usage in that starting lineup? And of course, it's one of Josh Hart or OG Anunoby. And just given their play styles, it probably would be Hart. But also if OG is right, like you've still got 2 star players, at least in your lineup, and someone who you've certainly given up a lot for, who you think can play prominent roles in Bridges. So
star in his role.
I'm with you. Exactly.
Okay. Your next overreaction.
My next overreaction is that the New York Knicks are slow. The Knicks rank dead last in pace, and it's kind of significant. If you look at it, I mean, I haven't
looked at the stat actually.
When you look at pace,
it right now,
they're at 94.3.
That's really low. Holy crap!
Yeah, the team that's right above them, the Denver Nuggets, 97.3. So 3 whole points higher. And I mean, for context, the gap between the Knicks and the Nuggets, given that it's 3 points, the gap between from 97.25 to say,
oh my God,
above that with 100.25 is 18th. That would be best for 18th. The point being, like, there's a significant gap here, and the Knicks they're
in their own tier of slowness.
Yeah, like it's a tortoise and hare, and the tortoise is just dealing with a nagging injury. Like, that's where we're at from the tortoise side. Do I think this is a major reaction? Maybe a little. I mean, look, the bottom line here is that I don't believe there's a causation between pace and success from an offensive rating standpoint. You can check me on that, but it's like, that's not to say pace isn't important.
Clearly there's not, because the Knicks have the 4th best offense in the league after 2 games.
Exactly. So it's really a matter of they don't have to be the fastest team, but you'd like them to do a bit more. But I mean, I don't want to say it's not concerning. It's just like, I'd like to see a faster pace. Maybe just don't rank dead last by a significant amount. Maybe I'd give it a 3 or 2.5 out of 5.
I never know how to feel about pace, and I forget how Fred puts it, but he's made this point before. Like, the pace statistic does not measure how fast teams play in the sense in terms of what actually matters. Like there are instances where the Knicks will hurry the ball up the floor, and like they tend to take advantage of those situations. Like when Josh Hart gets a rebound, and we saw it actually play out in the coast to coast finish he had against Indiana, which was beautiful. Like he'll do that a lot sometimes. I hope to see a lot of like trailing threes from Cat in semi-transition throughout the season. Like they'll do that stuff when there's opportunity. When the backups are in the game, I think they're going to play faster. They already have played a little bit faster. But then, like, how many times against Indiana did Jalen Brunson get across the half court line? There was 17 seconds left on the clock. But when you have one of the most efficient offenses in the league, and for as far as effective field goal percentage goes, they are second to, what do you know, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are the third best offense in the league right now. Yeah, I mean, I again, I don't know how bad of a thing it is. So I'm not. I don't think anything of this one way or the other.
One of the things that I just in general kind of go by in life, mantra wise, is go slow to go fast. Right? If you, especially at work, if you go way too quickly, you might drop some balls. You might mess up on something. Take your time, and then you're able to do it. If the Knicks are going at their own pace, but it works for them, then that's great. Like that's keep it. But perhaps there is a way to, as time goes on, more comfortability, better processing, speed it up a little bit more, get there. But it's not like I'm looking at that and being, oh my God, that's the thing the Knicks have to work on the most. That's the key ingredient that changed everything. It's not.
My third one, I'll go very quick, is that Ariel Hukporti should surpass Jericho Sims in the rotation. I've been as critical of Sims as anyone. And I agree, he did not look good in the preseason, and I did not think he looked particularly good in the opener against Boston. I thought he played all right against Indiana, and I was happy that a couple of people on Twitter pointed that out. I know DJ was all over that, and I'm pretty sure Benji as well, because he was like solid, and that's all he needs to be, is solid. So I'll go for that overreaction, since I was kind of in on it a little bit myself. Not that Hukporti should play over Sims, but just like I didn't really trust Sims. I'll give that like a 3 out of 10 or a 3 out of 5. But yeah, give Sims a little time. I think he deserves that at least.
Sure. I mean, yes, played fine. At the end of the day, the way I look at Jericho Sims is how I look at the way that an MLB team might treat a reliever. He's that quadruple A type of player where he eats minutes, and when you don't need him anymore, then you don't need him anymore. And that's fine. But until then, we don't have to really worry about the deadline right now or any of that, because of course he's unrestricted free agent in the summer. Don't have to really think about that. It's just in the time being, what is he able to do? And typically he's the type of person who is efficient and does collect rebounds. Of course, it's just on the defensive side that he can struggle quite a bit, but he is serviceable enough where I'm really not going to find complaints over it. Not when the Knicks are also already down with 2 big men, because let's face it, if both those players, even one of them,
wouldn't be playing.
They probably wouldn't see as many. Well, with Achua, I feel like Sims would still play. I kind of, and maybe that's not right. I think that's a TBD about if Achua was here, would Sims still play? I think that's an interesting question, and we'll find out. The reason I ask it is because we know Tibbs's enjoyment of playing Precious at the 4, and I just don't. I'm curious how it translates, because if you play him with Towns, it's kind of, you can mix and match accordingly. It works a little bit better, but something to be seen when Precious originally, when he gets.
I see Andrew updating the rundown in real time. I look forward to getting to that part. Your last overreaction, and then we got to move on.
Last one is Karl-Anthony Towns has taken 4 threes through 2 games. Sure. Not a lot. I mean, there hasn't been a ton.
It sounds like you're worried.
Action. I'm a little worried, but at the same time, I don't
expect a reaction. It's a reaction.
It's more in the, did I expect him to attempt over 8 per game? I did not, but I was expecting more than 2 per game. I was expecting more like 6, 5, at least something around those, maybe 7, but that still feels a little high. 2 is definitely on the lower end. And I think that's still going to be working out the kinks. In general, you know me, I hate these first few weeks because I just want to watch ball and not do a whole lot with the sample sizes, because all it takes is one game, let's say 2 games, right, to change everything that we've just talked about.
Yes.
Like there's going to be more games played this upcoming week than there have been in the season for the Knicks so far. So who knows? But I'd like to see more than 2 threes per game from the star player that you have traded your all NBA player and talented Dante DiVincenzo and a first round pick for.
I think as long as the offense is humming, and it's not humming yet, but I think we see the outline of an offense that will definitely hum when they figure each other out. I don't really care how many threes he takes. That said, that's not true. I do care, but like I'm not concerned yet. At the end of the day, he needs to show that he's willing to take more. So TBD. Okay. We're going to present our first game ball of the year, except this time we are giving it courtesy of our new partner. Again, I've been teasing the official like quasi announcement of this partnership. I'm going to announce it right now with Juan, please. In which, hold on. Here we go. I'm wearing my hat for this segment. You ready for this?
Yeah, let's see it.
There we go.
Ooh.
How do I look? For anybody listening on the podcast, I have placed a Juan Please hat on my head. And now I'm going to wear it for the segment because this segment is presented by Juan Please, our new beverage partner. They have a delicious cocktail, tequila, lemonade, and tea, the TLT. I was drinking it all night at the watch party. I look forward to drinking more of them at upcoming watch parties. That's going to be a lot of fun. And only 1 gram of sugar. 1 gram of sugar, whatever you want to say. Jeremy, you won the week. So you, my friend, get to give the first game ball after I, of course, read the candidates. So we have Mikal Bridges, went 15 for 20 from the field and 4 for 6 from 3 since he was declared washed in the first half versus Boston. Josh Hart averaging 16, 7, and 3 and shooting 57% since he was declared unfit to start games after the Boston game. Deuce, 11 for 14 from the field and 6 for 7 from 3 this season. He has is that right? He has a 1.000 effective field goal percentage. That can't be right. It's a real stat.
Are we doubting Andrew's abilities here?
I didn't know that was mathematically possible, but
I will check it again, but it stood out to me, the 1.000 effective field goal percentage.
I'll take your word for it. The 5-man unit of Dadier, Huckporty, Toppin, Sims, and Kolek. Nobody set the 3-point record on their watch. F Boston. And then last but not least, T Squared Social. Thanks to all who attended on Tuesday. The next watch party is, drumroll please, Friday against the aforementioned Detroit Pistons, who are going to give us, I'm sure, a spirited effort, even though they are 0-3. They've been in all 3 of their losses. So, yeah, come out to T Squared Social on Friday for our next watch party. Very excited about that. I, of course, will be in attendance again. Andrew, like a bunch of the crew, will be there. So those are your candidates, Jeremy. Who are you giving your Juan Please game ball to?
Juan, please. More like, Juan, please save the Yankees because I can't take it anymore. Aaron, what are you doing? That applies to multiple Aarons. I am going to give the game ball to one Deuce McBride, where, yes, that is correct. The effective field goal percentage is indeed 1,000. What he brought to that Celtics game made the Knicks look, competent. I mean, there were moments, of course, when Mikal played nicely in the second half, don't get me wrong, but he being McBride was just steady the entire game. I mean, just the 11 of 14 from the field, 6 of 7 from 3 is incredible. And of course, then you see the clip on ESPN of him talking up with Huckporty about earning those minutes and kind of, hey, do your role, like the whole no small parts, only small actors.
He's watching.
He is. Be a star in this role, and then you'll keep earning and you'll keep growing. And I have little doubt that Huckporty is going to keep moving up in terms of, I mean, right now he's on a 2-way contract, but yeah, I mean, he's been great. So Deuce, he's got to be, I'm giving the game ball. He has to have it.
Good selection there. I think he was the right pick. I am going back and forth between Mikal Bridges and Josh Hart. And because I feel like both of these guys have gotten a little bit of the short end of the stick as far as fan reactions. Definitely during the preseason. Josh Hart obviously had, 2 points in the preseason. And then on opening night, I will give it to Mikal Bridges because I think Josh Hart, like, he doesn't really care and he's going to be fine. Like Mikal Bridges, after coming to a new team and having like that, like I get the guy's been to the finals. He's like obviously won NCAA championship, the whole thing, championships, I should say, plural. That felt like a lot on somebody's shoulders, you know, to shoot like that in his last preseason game, and then opening night, like it's not going well. Like he did not. And I'm acknowledging, I'm giving the game ball to someone who like his screen navigation on a lot of those Tatum threes was like very poor. I'm giving this to him for the comeback he made against Indiana, because it was really good and it was really great to see, and it shows you what kind of what he's made of. I think, and I'm just really excited to watch Mikal Bridges moving forward. So, congratulations to Mikal Bridges and Deuce McBride for getting our very first Juan Please game balls of the season. You're going to be hearing a lot more about Juan Please and their delicious cocktail, which I again enjoyed on the post game the other night, and I will be enjoying on more post games moving forward. And where you can get those throughout the year as we move forward. Okay, next up. Detention given to a player or coach or entity that deserves to sit down for a while and think about what they've done. Here are our candidates. The guy I just gave my game ball to, Mikal Bridges, went 0 for 5. And what is this? 0 for 5 and 0 for 4. He didn't. 0
for 4 from 3 is what that should say, John.
Sorry, I did see. I listen. Don't ask me to intuit things. I am not an intuiter. Thank you. If he's writing it now, you're writing it in the rundown. That's really helpful now. 0 for 5 and 0 for 4 from 3 with his broken ass jump shot versus Boston. OG Anunoby has a 39.5 effective field goal percentage. That's lower than 1,000. What a waste of money. Josh Hart shooting point. Oh no, that's no. I'll see. I'll pick up on this one. 13%, not 0.13%. That would be really bad. From 3 so far this season, and he's the reason that everything bad happens to you. And Jericho Sims, why are you getting minutes over future Defensive Player of the Year, Ariel Hukporty? Oh wait, no, there's one more candidate. I see it. It's on the next page. I have to go down to page 2 for this one. Yankee players and managers named Aaron. Yikes. This is my first pick. So I will not be taking anything having to do with the Yankees because I just really don't care. I really have to give attention to one of these folks.
You can go off the board, as we have said in the past, John.
You know what? I'm going off the board. I am giving my detention to, you know what? I got to do? Got to give it to the coach. Got to give it to Tibbs. 8-man rotation, game 2. What are you doing? Trying to run these guys into the ground? What are we, crazy here? We got 80 games left. This is madness. Utter madness. Sorry, Tom.
I will go with Yankees players and managers named Aaron. Aaron Judge, your legacy is on the line here, my man. Like you may never make another World Series. It's very possible. Wow. You got to show up. You are going to be the AL MVP. You got to do more than this. Aaron Boone, really? Tim Hill deserved to blow that game. Not Nestor Cortez. Tim Hill. He had every opportunity to be the one to screw it up. So, look, I don't feel great about World Series. I will say I kind of have wet my beak a little bit with the Liberty Championship. It was nice to get a taste for that. Before that, it was Gotham FC. And for that, it was NYCFC. I'm admittedly not the biggest soccer fan, so didn't have the opportunity to celebrate those. But I'd also really like to see Yankees World Series. And right now I'm seeing it, and I don't love it. So it'd be great if, other guys could play. I mean, I don't know, Anthony Volpe was swinging at in the 9th inning yesterday. But damn, just like, guys, I know the Dodgers are a great team. Give them credit, but let's not make this harder on ourselves than we have to. If your name Aaron, just do better, please.
I actually need to make an addendum, by the way, because you bring up a good point, Jeremy. I should have had the Liberty as a candidate on the
that was a bad
game
job
ball.
by you.
Congratulations to the New York Liberty.
Congratulations.
Went down to Canyon of Heroes this week. The first Canyon of Heroes parade since not the Yankees on because the Giants won in 2011. So the first parade in the city in over a decade. So congrats to the Liberty. And
did NYCFC not have a parade?
I didn't think it was down the Canyon of Heroes, was it?
I'm not sure. Good question. It was not. Yeah,
maybe it was down Richmond Road in Staten Island.
Okay.
There was no parade due to COVID.
Oh,
at least down the Canyon.
Oh, that's too bad.
Gotcha.
Well, they wouldn't.
Gotcha. John, I know you tapped out on baseball after the Mets ended, but are you aware the level to which Jeremy's talking about with Aaron Judge?
Oh no, I did. So I was watching all of my basketball on my laptop. I had actually 2 games going at once on my laptop, but the Yankee game was on like in the room, and I was cognizant. I definitely saw the Judge strike out in the ninth inning with
in the ninth inning. 6 so far in 2 games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeremy, better postseason performer, this Aaron Judge or Julius Randle?
God.
Is Aaron Judge hurt?
No, he's just been bad.
Mentally?
So then Randle has to get the nod.
Okay.
Because at least Randle was hurt.
I think the sample size is larger for Judge. So which is unfortunate. Yeah. It's so bad that I actually, after the Hernandez home run, I turned the game off and I went to Netflix to rewatch one of my favorite shows, Detroiters, that I have seen a million times. You know how bad it was that I was like, you know what? Instead of watching what's on the screen, I'm going to go to a show that I know everything that's already going to happen. That's where I was at mentally. And then I watched the 9th inning and I was like, you know what? I just shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that to myself?
Is this like Karl Malone level? Like
more James Harden.
Oh, Harden's probably a better example at this point.
James Harden, more local, or more, not even local. I guess he did play for the Nets, but a more contemporary.
Yeah, no, that's unfair to Karl Malone. Karl Malone had some good playoff games. He just never really came up big when it mattered the most.
Paul George.
What?
Is Paul George?
Not good enough.
But right,
not good enough.
Great, and
Paul's had some big playoff moments.
He has, but also not been the MVP in terms of the. Right, baseball's so weird. Like I saw a tweet and it was true. Where it's like you're not going to see LeBron James score 6 points. Most likely, like you're not going to see a quarterback throw 5 interceptions. It's just, and there's going to be another game. As you're listening to this, there's another game tonight, and there's going to be another game tomorrow. And God willing, there will be a one after that. But who knows, based on how the Yankees are playing.
All I could think about when you were talking about wetting your beak was Don Fanucci and Godfather Part 2. It's neither here nor there. Okay.
One other addendum. John just completely skipped.
No, I'm going to get to it right now. I remembered. Yeah.
Never mind. So, John remembered after the fact. Here we go.
So for anybody wondering, and I'm sure all of you is like, how have you gone 39 minutes without talking about this? The G League draft happened on Saturday, and the Knicks had traded on Friday, I think it actually was, so they could have the first and second pick in the G League draft. They used those picks to select Matt Ryan and Landry Shamet. So as far as I know, Jeremy, the only notable part of this is that it allows Shamet to rehab with them. That's the point. Several people, I think Mark Stein was maybe the first to rehab with the club with his shoulder injury. So that's good. Anything else notable on your end for this?
Yeah, it's a legal under the table way of paying these guys to be with the Knicks. Essentially, what I gather could happen here is that the Knicks will go through their 28 days of having under 13 players on the roster. They need 1 day to kind of break it
under
up.
14.
Well, it's 28 in total, but it has to be 14 days at a time.
Yeah, but you said under 13 players. They could only be under 14.
Yes, under 14. Correct. Apologies. Yeah. So they'll try to do that. They won't necessarily have, at least they probably won't have Matt Ryan be the guy to get that 1 day contract. It might be TJ Warren. It might, it could be whatever veteran that you're thinking of. Then when they reach the end of the second 20 or 14 day cycle, that's when you could expect Huck Porty to be promoted from the 2-way spot to the rookie exception. And then that would get them to 13. And of course, then the Knicks could bring someone else into that non-guaranteed minimum spot that would get them to 14. The 2-way spot that is opened up, that would presumably go to Matt Ryan. And
we should note Ian Begley has reported that Matt Ryan getting the 2-way spot is a possibility.
And there's a way for the Knicks. I mean, could they go with Shamet? Yeah, but they also, to fill that 14th role, could go with, again, any veteran, especially one that's had more than 2 years of league experience from a cap hit perspective, to fill that role and then be on a non-guaranteed contract through that January 10th or so date before it's guaranteed. They could always non-guarantee them. And then January 5th is when we see 10-day contracts start. So the Knicks could find a way to kind of keep the ball rolling until Landry Shamet is eventually healthy. And they save money on the front end. Eventually, they've got to pay players, but it's prorated. So it's a nice way for the Knicks to just, again, as you said, monitor Shamet's recovery, but kind of balance out the finances, give as much wiggle room as they can, and still wind up in a place that they'd be happy with, which is presumably Huck Porty on a standard rookie contract from a rookie exception standpoint. Matt Ryan getting that two-way slot. And just kind of figure it out from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you kind of just laid it out, for them to save the maximum amount of money, if they're really not concerned about getting like people on the roster that could actually play like serviceable basketball for them in the next month or so, they could just sign two guys from the Westchester team. I don't know. Nobody notable, and then waive them to non-guaranteed deals, waive them after a day, and then after those next 2 weeks you convert Huck Porty, maybe get Ryan on the two-way. The biggest question for me is, where is Shamet in his recovery process at that point? So we're looking at about 22 or 23 days from now, which we'll have to wait and see. Do they sign someone else in the interim to another non-guaranteed, and then wave that person a couple weeks later? A lot of different ways that we can go.
I think they probably would. The other thing to keep in mind is, what did the Knicks do this whole summer? What was the main reason for why the Knicks were able to make the trades that they did?
Oh, sign and trades.
Right. And using
players whose rights they had.
Which means you gather more of them when you
have players
cycle through them.
Yeah.
So if the Knicks wanted to hand out cash to a bunch of players as it's a nice little favor. Yeah. It's also there's a need to be able to do that because, like, hey, if you had TJ Warren sign a contract for a day, TJ Warren, we have your rights. We can sign and trade you, and you can get paid for a year and not do anything if they cut you, and you still get paid to not do anything, which is great. So.
All right, Jeremy, you have to go soon, so we're going to let you sneak out before the announcements. But first, we got to just do predictions real quick, which you are going to go first because you had the first pick, which means you won, because otherwise I would have had the first pick and I would have won because I would have picked 1-1. I want everybody to know that.
You didn't.
3 games this week. Monday, Cleveland. It's home for Cleveland, 7:30 p.m. And then we have 2 straight on the road. Wednesday at Miami, and then Friday, the aforementioned T-Squared watch party that is at Detroit. That game actually starts at 7 p.m. I assume I know which way you are going with this, Jeremy, but I need to hear you say it out loud.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the ropes. I'm going to go 2-1.
Yeah.
Do I think that 3-0 is possible? I absolutely do. Do I also believe that it just takes one loss early in the season as teams figure things out? And like, again, do I expect the Pistons to beat the Knicks? I don't. But I also know from the 3 games that they've played, they've been feistier. They've been better than last season. There's more talent there. Any given night, it could happen. So I'm going to assume that something, whether it's the Cavs, the Heat, Pistons, one of those teams wins. I'll go 2-1.
Not as easy for me to go 3-0 as you might expect. I knew you were going 2-1. I did think about going 1-2 here. I can't, for the life of me, though, start off the season with that level of negativity. So I'll go 3-0. I'll hope for the best, and then we will see what happens. Anything else from you before me and Andrew wrap up with the announcements?
Let's go Yankees.
Okay. I hope for your sake that this is not a 4-game World Series. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I would really like to. I don't know. I'm having like Kings Rangers flashbacks. I don't know, Andrew, you're a Rangers fan. I don't know if you felt that way as well, especially with the missed opportunity in Game 1. And I mean, there was no interference or anything like with Lundqvist's face, but there's something about it, especially from a New York, LA standpoint. Like, damn, if this series just ends in 5 in games that the Yankees should have, but then didn't win, that just sucks. So out of our control. We'll see what happens.
Kings Rangers is a good call. The 3 of those games that the Rangers lost were in overtime, and the last one was in double overtime. So that's how close that 5-game series was. And the Yankees are a better decision from a manager and maybe an MVP at bat from their MVP from at least being tied in this series. So
that's a good call. All right, Jeremy, enjoy your party tonight. We'll see you. See you soon. Okay. Announcements. GMC, stand up here for these, right?
Yes, of course.
Just making sure.
You said on the pod already that me and Andrew would wrap up, so it would be weird if I suddenly left and it wasn't you. You know,
it would not be the first time I have spoken out of term on this podcast.
Right. Yeah.
Just throw that out there.
Only announcements we got are that the pregame pod is up right now. So if you want to check out me and my home away from home, the Chase Down host, Justin Rowan, we went and recorded before football today. Speaking of seasons that are over. I didn't bring it up the whole. John, you don't even have to. I'm done with football potentially.
So you sent two things real quick. So for anybody who doesn't know, we're talking about the Jets. You sent out a tweet. I think it was the night the night the Mets lost, or maybe the next morning, where it was like 3 seasons ended today.
Three seasons ended on the same. It's weird that 3 seasons ended tonight. The Liberty, the Mets, and the Jets. And that was a week ago. Yes. And
I don't know if this is going to come off the right way, but like when I read that tweet, I was like, just read it very matter of factly, like, oh, this is a true statement, and how interesting. I didn't even get the joke. Like, you were trying to make a joke about the Jets, and I didn't even interpret it as a joke. I was just like, oh yes, this is a fact. But and then so here's my question for you, and this may be unfair to throw this on you at the end of a 48-minute pod. I had trouble thinking of a recent New York sports team that had as disappointing of a season as this Jets team. Am I forgetting a Mets team somewhere? Am I forgetting a Knicks team somewhere?
No, there's no Knicks team. The Knicks, right? When they go big, usually
even 13, 14, like there were expectations for that team. They were certainly supposed to make the playoffs, and they came out of the gate stinking to holy hell. I think they were 2-9 out of the gate, but like
not this. It wasn't this.
It wasn't this, right?
No.
Like this was there were people talking. Ian O'Connor came on this very show. And it was like, hey, I think the team will win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And here I am now at 2-6 after a loss to the Patriots, who are not good anymore. Now wondering about draft positioning. So, yeah, they're probably the most talented 2-6 team ever. And I've told you this off the air. I might just be done with football altogether, because if this didn't work,
no.
If this didn't work, if this didn't work, then I'll just go back to being a casual. I have like 15 basketball podcasts I edit now anyway, so they can keep my attention. But if this didn't work, the hype that was around it, I'm just okay. Like, I'll show up when you guys decide to turn it around. I'm not going to be along for the ride of the turnaround, which I respect anybody that is now going to still stick with it.
I will say this, and I was blessed with like falling ass backwards into Steelers fandom when I was 14 years old, and like they gave me, like, obviously they gave me 2 Super Bowl championships, and generally speaking, well, a hell of a lot more winning seasons than losing seasons.
Mm-hmm.
It is so much. It is so much less stressful to be a casual football fan. You duck in for a Sunday. It's like, hey, this is fun. All right.
Turn on Red Zone. That was my afternoon. I was editing I was editing the pregame pod, and
look at that great throw. Look at that great run. Look at that great tackle. Fun. Yeah. All right, I'm going to turn off the game now, and I'm going to go play with my kids at the park. Like, whatever. It's not
the example you're thinking of. By the way, is if you're looking for a local example, is probably the 23 Mets, who had the highest payroll ever and didn't make the playoffs. Okay. But they at least like sold off the parts of that team at the deadline and turned it into a positive.
Yeah,
at that
I remember
point. The best basketball example I could think of is the Dwight Howard Lakers season. But even the
only example.
But even then, like, while the championship aspirations disappeared, that team went 30-16 in their last 46 games. Yeah. They made the playoffs, and then Kobe tore his Achilles, and that's why that went down the drain. This was like they've gotten healthier as the season's gone along. Aaron Rodgers is here. They traded for his favorite player. They fired the coach he didn't like. Hassan Reddick's back, and here we are.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I saw it today, and I was like, I had to watch a little bit of the game. I was like, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. More announcements. So we have watch-alongs. KFS watch-alongs are back. I'm doing Monday's game, I think, right?
Yes, you're doing Monday's game. The panel is TBD because there are a lot of Yankee fans at Knicks Film School, and I'm not making them watch a Knicks game mandatory. Like, as much as as attentive as we need to be on playback during Game 3 of the World Series.
So as a reminder, I don't know if we want to go through all the playback thing, but if for patrons who are out of market,
it's no longer a Patreon perk because playback is a public thing now. So just join us either on YouTube or on playback.
Great. Yeah. So if you want to just watch the game along with us, I guess would be the better way to say it. Just go to the Knicks Film School YouTube channel. I'm excited about that one. I'm nervous about Monday's game for sure, but I'm nervous, but I'm excited for that challenge. I feel like that's going to be a good game against the Caps. So yeah, playbacks are back. And then we said it already, Friday, Knicks Film School watch party at T Squared Social. Very excited to go and get our, God willing, first watch party win of the year. And I guess we'll probably kick that off maybe 5:30, 5:30.
5:30, 6 o'clock. If you want to be in the next Hey There Knicks fans, which is a little social segment that Jon does where he asks as many people as possible a question and the best answers make it into our video. So be there early, come hang out with us for the pregame party, and hopefully we, as Jon mentioned, don't start another losing streak of regular season watch parties because we're going to be there a lot this year.
I got to tell you, man, watch it. I've watched bits. I actually watched most of the Detroit-Boston game, and I've watched at least a decent-ish chunk of their other two losses, the Pistons. Like, they've figured some stuff out. Like, they're a real basketball. At the very least, they're a real basketball team now. I don't know if that's going to translate to wins or not, but they're a real basketball team. So that Friday game should be a good game, but I trust the Knicks will find a way to pull it out. Okay, that is it. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of the Knicks Film School Podcast. Thanks to our sponsors, T Squared Social, and, of course, Juan, please. Looking forward to cracking open another one of those after the game on Monday. Hopefully a win. And, great stuff coming up this week. Check out the pregame pod that Andrew recorded, and we will be back with more fun and games very soon. Peace out.